Okay, our own decentralized identity network. What does it mean? Why would we want it? How would we do it? So I've got a web browser here on the phone, on the big computer, and that's mirrored. And I've got a phone mirrored on the big computer that you're seeing as well. In the brief talk is phone size right here. It just shows how to do it if you want to be supportive of our own decentralized identity network. This video goes into a little bit more details. And the website in particular has even more. It's got the ridiculous comics in zingers like Liberated Trust, Freedom of Speech 2.0, and so on. And the point of this video is to make the demo. So you can check it out without installing the app if you want to. I'll use the phone that I'll be using for the demo just to show what I have. I have a phone with my actual identity that I'll use to vouch, and then I've got the big computer, and then the phone in my hand is the one I'll use for the demo, of course. And I'll try to click on the buttons here. So the oneofus.net phone app, the App Store links are on the web page, and I already have the app installed, and I'll launch it. And it's saying I have no keys on this device, so I'll say create a new identity key. It congratulates me, explains a couple of things, and you can see that this is my public key, and it doesn't know who I am or what I am. I'm just this demo phone. And I'll click this scan button. I'll allow the app to use the camera, and I'm going to go here and scan. That was my phone, actually. That is my identity. And it's saying, whose key is that? You're about to vouch that that's a person, human, acting in good faith. And I'll say that's Tom. Actually, I'll cancel out of here and do one quick step first, which is on the advanced screen. I'll turn on this FYI feature, which is there specifically for the demo. So I'll go ahead and scan that phone again. And it is a human being, Tom, that controls that key. And I see this gibberish that it's going to say FYI to be signed and published. I, me, trust unknown key with moniker Tom and a couple of other details. And I'll say looks good. And that's it. We're done. That's how we build the decentralized identity network. Now, of course, this demo phone scanned my phone, but I haven't scanned his. That's why mine has my name on it and all these credentials. And so if this demo wants to be trusted by me, it can get me to scan its phone, which I won't, or it can email me or share by text or WhatsApp or whatever an invitation that's got the public key in the invitation. So I'll send that from the demo phone to myself. And actually, before this video, I sent the demo account a link to vouch for my identity. And if you click on that, it brings the app up and it shows Tom. And if you bring that up on the big computer, if you receive the share link, then it gives you something to sign or to scan on the big computer to know what the key that you're trying to share is. So we've done that. We've covered inviting back. And now there's two apps here involved in showing what the decentralized identity network does. We've used the oneofus.net phone app to build a network a little bit. And now we'll take a look at this Nerdster to demo what it can do for us. So I'll go to the nerdster.org homepage, super nerdy, neat stuff on here, and I'll access the web app. It says I'm not signed in. If you're on your phone, you'd have the identity app on the same device. You'd click this link. On the big computer or on a tablet, I have the identity app on a different device. This is the identity app, and this is the Nerdster. So I'll say show the QR code, and I'm going to scan that with my identity app. And now the identity app is saying you're trying to sign into nerdster.org and it wants a delegate key representing you. Do you want to give it one? And I'll say, yeah, I'll give it one. And now it's saying that it's going to sign and publish using my private key pair on this phone another statement that says that I delegate that key to the domain nerdster.org, and I'll say looks good. And now we saw somehow the phone app sent my credentials, or the demo keys credentials, to the Nerdster. And we're signed in here as me. We can see other people exist. They're presumably people that I, Tom, scanned their phones. We can see a bunch of content from Tom and some content from some other people. And so let's submit something. And so, yeah, before we do, let's turn on the FYI business here. I'll show crypto. We see a little bit more junk on the screen, and I'll add in the FYI. We've signed in, and let's submit this movie and recommend it. And so I'll search for that on Google. I could have just copy pasted it right there, but I want to show off this copy paste feature where if you take a URL and click on the submit link and dump it right on this paste button, sometimes it gets all the fields that you need to from a newspaper or so on. In this case, it got that it's a movie, and it got the title right. It didn't get the year right. I'll say establish subject. I'll give it a like. I'll say publish. And now we see that the Nerdster is showing us this FYI business saying to be signed using the nerdster.org delegate key, which you signed using your identity key. And we see that it's being signed by the key me at nerdster.org is who's going to sign the statement. This is the movie, and it's got recommend true, and I'll say it looks good to me. And now we see the submission of that movie. So let's do a couple more things. Let's filter for by likes and just movies. And we see this movie here, and I see that Tom and Andrew liked it, and so I'll give it a like as well. It's going to publish a statement signed by a key, and now we see that this movie has 3 likes. So let's check out what happened a little bit. Why is this different? So here on the website, there's these 4 boxes that explain what the cryptography does. And so public key cryptography and digital signatures, those are workhorses of the internet. They work great. They're gibberishy. They look like this, and so you're not going to speak that to somebody or try to type it in even, and that's why we scan them. And they come in pairs. The private key you keep, the public key you distribute, so people know that if something is signed, it was authentically signed by somebody who controls the private key. So here's a little demo. It shows the key, this declaration that I'm not a robot, and this signature. And if I verify it, it's verified. And if I mess with it in any way, then it's detected as fraudulent. And so I can't change the key or the signature or the text that was signed, but I don't know who signed it because I don't know whose public key that was. These vouch statements that the phone app signs and creates, they're similar. They mention 2 keys, the key that signed it and the key that it saw. So in the case where the demo phone scanned my phone, that statement includes the demo phone's public key and my public key and a signature from the demo's phone, so you can't forge it saying somebody else trusted me or that the demo phone trusted somebody else. But it's still all kind of vapid if we don't know whose key is who. And so finally, when you put it all together, here we're browsing from the context of Lisa Simpson from the fictitious Simpsons bot farm, and she can look at this gibberishy statement and verify that it's not forged and see that this is actually something that Bart did using the Nerdster as a tool to say that he follows the person Milhouse for Context Social. So that detail is explained here on the webpage. And let's go back to the app, the Nerdster. And so I know who Tom is. If I click on Tom, I can see that I scanned Tom's phone. I vouched for Tom, I being the demo phone. If I look at Tom, I can see all kinds of stuff. Tom's keys on the Nerdster and his identity key. And I don't know who this dude Andrew is, but he liked this movie too, so I'll check out Andrew. And I can see, oh, sure enough, Tom scanned Andrew's phone, and I can see who scanned Andrew's phones and details like that here. And these are all signed statements using cryptography. So this content here is whitelisted. It's all content that this demo phone that signed in trusts came from people that are really people, and it can't be forged. And furthermore, this is all usable by anything. It's verifiable, portable, and open. And so here on my own like, I can see, I meant to click on the cryptography shield. I can see the statement that was signed, and this is translated for me, and my key is being represented as me at nerdster.org. But if I can look at it in ungibberishy form, and I can see this is actually my key. And if I look at the identity view and go over here and look at Andrew and see how he's trusted, I can see the statement that I signed on my phone saying that I, Tom, trust Andrew. This is from that demo phone's point of view. Furthermore, I can look at, let's say, Andrew's keys, and I can look at his identity key, and I can see these signed and published statements open for anyone or any service to read on the internet. And so here I can see all the statements that Andrew has signed using his private key. And if I, for example, go here to the demo phone and look at the delegate key, then I can see it's just two. He recommended, the demo phone recommended that movie, and it's signed, and it's done by the demo phone's Nerdster delegate key. And the demo phone also recommended this movie on its own, Memento. So the identity layer is who's a person and who isn't, and what do they go by. And any service can use our identities because our identity network is opened. They can take statements that are signed and published, verify them, and see that they're not forged, and they can pass them around to other services. They can cache them on their own sites. Those statements aren't trusted because they're served from oneofus.net, and they don't have to be served from oneofus.net. They're trusted because they're signed by keys that you presumably trust because of your trust network. Now, the delegate layer is necessary because we want to use hundreds of services, Yelp and Google Maps and Twitter and TikTok and Airbnb and VRBO and Uber. We want to have our identities accessible if we want to. It's all opt-in to hundreds of services, but we can't possibly give our private key to that many services and not have things go wrong. And so what we do is when we want to use a service, we create a disposable public-private key pair, and we hand it to that service to sign statements that represent us. And we use our identity key to sign and publish a statement saying that that's actually representing us on that service. And so this is all open and heterogeneous, and these boxes right here talk about how the internet evolved the same way. Websites worked no matter whose browser you're using, and they worked no matter whose web server you're using, and that's why the internet grew in such an impressive way to where it is now. And so what we're trying to do with this decentralized, open, and heterogeneous identity network is let any service that wants to use it and build it and do stuff for that. So we'll look at a couple of Nerdster sample features, and I'm not showing this to show off the Nerdster. I'm showing this to show that any service can do this. And so we'll change the point of view. So here's what it looks like. I have movies sorted by likes, and I see this movie, and it's liked by me and Tom and Andrew. And let me look at it from Tom's point of view. So right away we see that my name is now visible as something else because that's how my network recognizes me. And so I see my like represented like this. I see Andrew the same way. And I don't see the demo phone's like because I never scanned the demo phone's identity. It's not a real person. I'm not gonna. And so if we use Andrew's point of view, then suddenly that like is coming from Tommy because that's what Andrew calls me. And Andrew also, from his point of view, is not going to see content that he doesn't trust, like that demo phone. And so let's say the demo phone goes, you know, Tom, this dude, he talks too much. I don't want to see so much stuff from him. And so let me not follow him at all. Let me absolutely block him. And so I'll block him for the Nerdster context. And I'll sign a statement that everyone can see that the demo phone is not interested in context from Tom. And I'll close that. And if I go back here, nothing's changed because I'm using Andrew's point of view. Andrew does not block my content, but if I reset to my own point of view, being that demo phone, suddenly see a whole lot of the content is gone because the demo phone's not interested in my content. And furthermore, he lost Andrew as well. If he goes back and says, you know, Andrew had good likes, I want to follow Andrew specifically, then you can go here and say follow specifically Andrew for the Nerdster context. And here the demo phone is using the delegate key he gave the Nerdster to express that he actually is interested in content by Andrew. We're seeing the signing key as unknown because we're still looking at my point of view and I haven't scanned the demo phone's key, but we're signed in as the demo phone. If you can see that there's a variety of warnings here because I'm not in this network and no one's trusted me, and so my name is me. This is being signed in from the demo phone. And so now if we look at the Nerdster from the demo phone's point of view, we see that content from me, from Tom, is gone because he blocked me, but he does get content from Andrew. And so this is an example of a service leveraging the identity layer to say stuff about people who you want to follow. And the idea is if you're reading comment sections on the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, Reddit or whatever, or recommending Uber hosts or Uber drivers rather, or Airbnb hosts, you can reference the actual people, not just their accounts on that service. So this allows us to talk about real people who own their own identity keys, or their own cryptographic keys on logical subjects. And this is kind of like trying to make the internet work, making the internet work for us with identities. It's open, it's portable, all that stuff. And so this is about people, not accounts. I am not my email address or my Reddit account or my Uber account. I'm the person that people know. This network exists. We know who's who, and we're just writing it down, making it accessible. And so let's look at what we didn't do with this demo phone. We didn't pick a username and password. We created our own cryptographic key, and we didn't authenticate to a service to use that service with a username and password for the Nerdster. We just gave it a delegate key, and then we used our own app to say that that key represents us. And then we named Tom, and that's why we can see content here with names on it, but that's from our decentralized point of view. I didn't get to pick my name on oneofus.net. The people who scanned my phone said who I am. And so let's say we want to close our account. First thing we realize, we don't have an account. So here, I can see that I'm signed in. This is my identity key, and I can see it. If I scan it with the phone, it says, yep, that's you. Don't trust yourself. That's your identity key. And we can see our delegate key. And with the phone right here, that should work as well. And it's saying, yeah, don't try to trust this key. This is one of your delegate keys. So we'll close that. And so if we want to close I'm signed in here as me, and I can see my identity key and my delegate key. Note that the identity key, the Nerdster only has the public key. The delegate key, the Nerdster has the private key as well, so it can sign stuff on my behalf. So in order to close my account, I'm just going to go here. I'll swipe through these screens. We can see my trust in Tom, and I can edit or remove that trust in Tom. And I can see that this is my delegate key. I've authorized a delegate statement saying that this represents me on the Nerdster, and I'll just erase that statement. I can also revoke it retroactively or at any time. And so we saw the FYI that says I'm telling the whole world that I don't stand by that delegate key anymore. I now have no service keys. And if now I refresh the Nerdster, then we see a slash through this key because that delegate key is not associated with my identity. So I kind of closed my Nerdster account without even touching the Nerdster. And so we should be able to do this, manage our own identities without having services behave so that it's done correctly. Now, if I wanted to close my oneofus.net account, realize that this demo phone, nobody scanned his phone, and he has no oneofus.net account. If we look at me, for example, the person speaking, I actually have an account with all these people who scanned my phone. And so if I lose my private key, I can't get oneofus.net to send me a 6-digit code. I just have to go to the app and go to this advanced screen here and say I want to rotate my identity key and then get a couple of these people to scan my phone again or accept my invitation again, vouch for me, and then I'm good. So in essence, I have an account with people, not with any service. Last thing I want to show is the Nerdster webpage and a couple of things there. There's a link here to nerdster.org. Nerdster.homepage talks about how the app is unique and different, but not every app has to be as transparent as it is. And we can look at Lisa's point of view in this fictitious bot farm, and it's all wholesome. There's movies about horses and recipes and Homer's bowling movies. We can look at Bart's point of view, and it gets a little bit dirtier. There's movies here that you don't see from Lisa's point of view because Marge censored them, and that is all transparent. You can play around and look at this. And you could look at Milhouse's point of view, and you could see it's downright fraudulent. Somebody's called them Four Eyes and hijacked keys and filled the network with spam. So I'm going to go here to the menu, access the share link that you can use to send anybody a Nerdster link from a specific point of view with different filter settings. And I'll open that in a bigger window so that we can look at it bigger. And so we see that Milhouse is called Four Eyes. And the first thing we could do to clean this up is, since one of the clowns was being malicious, is change the setting from permissive to standard. And this requires more trust for somebody to affect the network. And so his name is restored. And if we look, for example, at wife here, on the why Milhouse cares about Marge's content, we can see by this where he trusts his mom, who trusts Homer, who trusts or follows Marge. But if we look at the identity layer, because he's made it want to be more strict, we can see that this required 2 layers, 2 separate paths to believe that this is really a person. We can see that Nelson, for some reason, has blocked Luann, and so if you signed in as Nelson, you wouldn't see any of the people that she's trusted as human beings. And you can see that from Milhouse's point of view, you can't really know what, certainly doesn't have this person's email address or social security number, but you can see that the path of trust to her is significant. It's probably a person. And so we've covered some of this. Identity networks are tough problems, and the idea is that we just publish simple statements like I vouch that this person is real and goes by Tom, and then we let the big players sort it out and build a network, an internet for us where we get to see only whitelisted content that's legit. If you go back to the website, there's stories and various arguments about why this will make the internet better. And then as far as why we do it, it's just to show support at this point. Build a network. If people see that we build a network, this is all open, they can start using this network. This can be how it starts. And so if you believe in this, scan your friend's identity cryptographic key with your own app and put something up on the Nerdster. Thanks for tuning in.